For more than half a century, the gray deserts of the moon held a profound, unnatural silence. The footprints left by 12 human beings remained perfectly sharp, frozen in a vacuum where there is no wind to sweep them away and no time to erase them. To a world looking up from below, those marks became a myth, a historical high water mark of what humanity once was, rather than what we were becoming. We did not stop going to the moon because we lost our curiosity. We stopped because the Apollo missions were a sprint, a political theater fueled by the Cold War. We built magnificent hot rods to plant flags and collect rocks, but we never built an architecture to stay. When the cameras turned off, the budget dissolved, and the gateway to the stars swung shut. For 50 years, we remained marooned on our cradle. But true exploration cannot be permanently suppressed. It is a slow buildup of pressure, waiting for technology to catch up with human ambition. In the quiet decades of our absence, the cosmos didn't change, but we did. We realized that if we are ever to walk among the red sands of Mars, we must first master the freezing dark of our own satellite. The era of the political sprint is over. The era of endurance has begun. This is the Artemis program. Named after the twin sister of Apollo and the goddess of the moon, its mandate is starkly different from its predecessor. We are not returning to leave footprints. This time, the celestial dust will bear the weight of our permanence, not our passing. We are going to build a permanent infrastructure, to mine cosmic water, and to establish a launching pad for deep space. This is the story of how humanity finally becomes a multi-planetary species. November 16th, 2022. The midnights of Florida were shattered by 8.8 million pounds of thrust. The Space Launch System, a colossus standing 322 feet tall, ignited its solid rocket boosters, generating a glare that temporarily turned night into blinding day. This was Artemis I. An uncrewed vessel, packed with thousands of digital sensors, sent to test the reality of space against the perfection of our simulations. As the Orion capsule severed its ties with Earth, it carried the silent expectations of a generation that had never witnessed a human walk on another world. This mechanical pioneer was paving a path of fire, ensuring that the next voyage into the lunar night would carry a beating human heart. Within minutes, the rocket breached the upper atmosphere, shedding its spent boosters into the Atlantic. Out in the orbital chill, the Orion spacecraft was cast adrift from the core stage, pushed by a singular, unyielding momentum toward a 250,000-mile journey. Inside the cabin sat no flesh and blood, only mannequins wired to record the unseen violence of deep space cosmic radiation. Orion ventured deeper into the cosmic void than any spacecraft built for humans had ever gone, entering a distant retrograde orbit. From this cold, alien vantage point, the spacecraft looked back toward its origin. Earth appeared not as a towering empire of light, but as a fragile sapphire marble suspended in an ocean of absolute nothingness. The ultimate test, however, was the return. Splitting the upper atmosphere at 25,000 miles per hour, Orion's heat shield bore the brunt of 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, a temperature half as hot as the surface of the sun. As the three massive parachutes blossomed over the Pacific, the math was validated. The shield held. The tomb had proven itself to be a sanctuary. The terrifying boundary between the vacuum of space and the safety of home had finally been tamed. With this ultimate triumph, the ledger of doubt was closed, clearing a burning trail for the human pioneers who would soon follow. Data can only take us so far. The true measure of exploration requires human eyes to witness the dark and human hearts to brave the distance. While sensors can map the architecture of the void, they can never comprehend the fragile beauty of a home left behind. Artemis II will carry 4 distinct souls into that same lunar trajectory. For the first time since 1972, human beings will break the bonds of low Earth orbit. They will journey into the deep silence of the lunar far side, where the shadow of the Earth no longer shields them from the raw cosmos. In doing so, these pioneers will officially reopen the frontier, proving that humanity is no longer just visiting the dark, but preparing to live within it. Their journey will not include a landing. Instead, it is a high-stakes 10-day free return trajectory. As they loop around the far side of the moon, they will enter a zone of total radio blackout, shielded from Earth by millions of tons of lunar rock. In that interval of absolute isolation, they will be further from home than any human beings in history, looking out into the unblemished stellar matrix. The face we know slowly fades into shadow, while the hidden side catches the first light of a new dawn. A frontier waiting to be bridged. 4 distinct souls stepping into the shadow of a colossus. They carry no weapons, no armor, only the collective hopes of a planet that has waited half a century to look back. Ignition. The heavy chains of Earth's gravity are torn apart, not by mere machine, but by the sheer human will to know the unknown. Look back. There it is, a fragile blue oasis suspended in an ocean of nothingness. In leaving her, we do not abandon our home. We choose to see it for what it truly is. Even the most trained minds dissolve into childhood wonder when confronted with the raw majesty of the cosmos. Beyond the reach of Houston's voice, the silence deepens. Below them, the lunar topography rises in sharp, breathtaking dimensions, no longer a flat photograph, but a tangible world. We have crossed the boundary of science fiction. In this cold vacuum, our only purpose is to lift each other up, to create joy where there was once only dust. The gateway has been reopened. As the great parachutes blossom against the home sky, a profound truth settles into the soil. When Artemis III finally descends toward the lunar surface, it will steering away from the smooth, sunlit equatorial plains of Apollo. It is targeting the Lunar South Pole, a chaotic, brutal landscape carved by billions of years of impacts. Here, long shadows stretch like dark fingers across the terrain, concealing craters where the sun has not shone for over 2 billion years. In these permanently shadowed regions, the temperature hovers near absolute zero, colder than the surface of Pluto. Yet, inside this freezing dark lies the greatest treasure of the solar system: billions of tons of water ice. This ice is not merely a resource for drinking. It is the currency of interstellar travel. By splitting its molecules, we can manufacture oxygen to breathe and liquid hydrogen to fuel our rockets. To reach this frozen frontier, Artemis III will utilize a radical new architecture. In lunar orbit, Orion will rendezvous with a massive lunar lander, a specialized variant of SpaceX's Starship or Blue Origin's Blue Moon. 2 astronauts will transfer to this Titan, descending through the vacuum to plant their boots where darkness rules. They will not just collect history, they will prospect for survival. The long-term blueprint of Artemis relies on a permanent outpost hung in a unique halo orbit, the Lunar Gateway. Unlike the International Space Station, which hugs the warmth of Earth, Gateway will spend weeks at a time in the deep void, acting as a command module, a science lab, and a planetary staging ground. It is the first true deep spaceport built by human hands. A solitary lighthouse anchored to nothing but gravity. It will keep watch over the silent dark. From this fragile threshold, the path to Mars and the deep cosmos will finally lie within our reach. Every habitat module placed on the moon, every kilometer traveled by the pressurized rovers, and every gram of water harvested from the South Pole is a rehearsal. We are practicing on the moon because a mistake here is a 3-day journey back to Earth. On Mars, a mistake is a death sentence across a 9-month abyss. The gray dust of the moon is our training ground. Its low gravity, our slingshot. We once looked at the moon as a ceiling, the absolute boundary of human potential. Today, we understand it is merely the shore of a vast, uncharted cosmic ocean. The Artemis generation does not look back at the footprints of the past with nostalgia. We look forward into the dark, knowing that the next steps we take on the moon will be the ones that finally carry us to the stars.